What if, despite great intentions that I don't doubt, your passion for ministry is in fact leading you away from loving God? Well, hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. It is so good to be here with you today. And today's video is something that has been on my heart for a while. It's a video I've been considering since the beginning of this pandemic, and I felt like I should make this, and then I haven't. And then today, in my quiet time, and Judges of all places, this idea came back to me, and I've decided to make it. And it might seem a little strange to you, but if any of you know me, you know that I am passionate about ministry. I love the local church. I love seeing local churches do well. I love seeing them thrive. I love seeing ministries filled with passionate people making a difference. I love seeing people go into ministry and do great things. All of those things, I love it. I worked full-time for a church. Now I work for a church in a part-time capacity while I'm in school, and ministry is something I have a deep, deep love for. And so in this video, in some ways, I'm preaching to myself. And this video is the result of seeing this in people around me in ministry, seeing this in ministry in general, and just wanting to give a word of caution, a word of wisdom, if you will, if I'd be so brave as to say that. So this video, it's for people in ministry. It's for people that, whether you work for a church or whether you're a volunteer, or whether you're thinking about it, or you just love the church, this video is for you. Really, it's for all Christians, because it's so easy to find our identity in what we do for God rather than in God himself and what he says about us. And what I really want to get at in this video is that it's easy to make a slight misdirection and begin to worship ministry, begin to love ministry supremely, begin to give more attention to ministry than to simply loving God. And I don't want to create a false dichotomy here, because I'm not saying that ministry and loving God is somehow pitted against each other. At their best, ministry should flow out of our love for God. But that doesn't always happen. You see, like I said, I want to explore the book of Judges today, of all things. And I'm not saying that this passage directly teaches this. I think it illustrates it, though, well. And I'm careful to not try to read too much into this. I don't want to teach you bad Bible study. I don't want to teach you eisegesis, reading an idea into the text, because that's like a hermeneutical Bible study no-no. You just don't do it. But bear with me, because I think there's something here that we can all really learn from. I'll be brief, we'll jump into this, but I want to just take you to Judges 8 real quick. You see, it's the story of Gideon, and I've read the story of Gideon. I know the story of Gideon, but when I came across this, it struck me in a new way, and perhaps because this idea was rattling around in my head, I don't know, but I began to see something here that I hadn't seen before, and I want to share it with you. You see, Gideon, he had just trounced all his enemies. It was amazing. Everyone's excited. And in the book of Judges, well, they don't have a king yet. And that's a real tension throughout the book you might be aware of. They had no king, and they did what was right in their own eyes. And it's just an up and down. And it's a whole mess. And so here's Gideon. He's doing great. And the people say, let's make you king. And here we have him giving the exact right answer. And I think for many of us in ministry, we've gotten really good at giving the right answer. We can even give an answer that rhymes or alliterate it, and we can just make it sound great because we know it. We know the lingo, we've internalized it, it's in our blood. And so we find him in verse 23. He says, I will not rule over you, and my son will not rule over you. The Lord will rule over you. And at this point, we're like, you got it, Gideon, like, good for you. You answered correctly. But then he acts incorrectly. You see, and he just goes slightly off. Just a few verses down, we see him making a golden ephod. And if you're like, what's an ephod? Because they're not really on trend right now, I'll forgive you for not knowing what it is. But it's what a priest would have worn in ancient Israel. It would have been like his outfit there. And he makes a golden one. And this harkens back to, you might have, going off in your head like, oh, the golden calf, which was a clear miss. Like Aaron, Israelites coming out of Egypt, you make a golden calf, worship it. Like, that's a big no. We all know you don't do that. But an ephod, you see, this is more subtle. You see, an ephod, it represents ministry. I mean, how can that be bad? And that's what I want to go with here. I mean, for so many of us, we give everything we have to ministry. We give our supreme love to ministry. I mean, we're not off by that much. But you see, what it says for them is that when he made this, and we're in verse 27 of chapter 8, it says, and all Israel whored after it there, and it became a snare to Gideon to his family. You see, if you just go slightly off and that becomes your primary purpose, it becomes your primary thing of devotion, if you are giving yourself over entirely to ministry in such a way that it's not leading you to love God more, it's not coming from an overflow of your love for God. In fact, in some ways it's replacing it. It can become a snare to you. And you see, the reason I first started thinking about this was that when coronavirus hit and the whole world got shaken upside down, immediately I saw everyone jumping to, what are the ministry opportunities here? How do we shift? How do we do this? How do we build up the ministry in this time? And it's great. It's not a bad thing. But what I realized so many people were missing was the fact that God was giving them an opportunity to really press into their relationship with Him in this time. That in this time of change, that they are giving this opportunity to, really lean into God. But instead, we can often just go into overdrive. And what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And we get on this hamster wheel of ministry, and we never stop and reflect. Like, God, am I even doing this for you? And we begin to get these convoluted motives. I've seen so many people go wrong because what started as trying to serve God out of a good place began to be just, how do I build a platform? And I am constantly aware of this, making videos, even on a very small channel. I always have to give myself this heart check of, why am I doing this? Am I doing this so people watch these and think I'm impressive? Like, if so, I need to quit right then. And I think what I see is a lot of people edging in that direction, that it can become intoxicating, being on a stage or being on a church staff or getting influence and people thinking that you're smart. And then we begin slowly, we worship that ephod, we worship ministry. But please, 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 this is such a dangerous route to go down. Instead of worshiping God, we begin to worship what we can do for God, and we begin to spend more time looking at what other churches are doing. We begin studying, what's Rich Wilkerson preaching? What is Judah Smith wearing? Like, we look at all these things. I'm not bashing those guys. That's neither here nor there. They seem like more or less good guys. But we begin to worship people in ministry. We worship their ministries. We wonder, how can I be like them? How can I do that? Rather than, God, what do you want from me? We just assume, God, that your will for me is to build the biggest platform I can and build the biggest church that I can and get famous and sell books and do whatever. But guys, be careful. This should all be an overflow of your love for God, not simply a new project. If you're type A like me and you like to get things done and you like to accomplish things and you like to lead things, this is even more dangerous, because if we're not careful, we can make God a means to an end, and that is never where we want to be. God is not your means to the end of building a bigger name for yourself, building a bigger church, a bigger nonprofit, bigger ministry, any of those things. God, in worshiping Him, that is the end. We do not confuse these things. This is not a small matter. And yes, it's a slight misdirection, so slight that sometimes we don't notice it, but it results in us miles down the road being miles and miles away, completely missing the mark entirely. It reminds me of an illustration I've used before. It's not original to me. I got it from Bob Goff. Shout out to him. He's great. Love his books. And he talks about a story in which he's boating from California to Hawaii, and they don't realize at first that they're a couple degrees off. But before they know it, if they wouldn't have realized it, that couple degrees off would have resulted in them entirely missing Hawaii and not hitting land till, Japan. You see, don't make the same mistake. Do not worship the ephod. Do not worship ministry. Worship God. Ministry is beautiful. Ministry is great. Do the work of God. Please serve Him with all of your heart, but serve Him with a heart that is given over to Him, not something that is mixed up with pride for what you can do for it. I hope you can see the difference, and I hope that all of us, I'm calling on all of this as I'm preaching to myself, that especially our generation that's caught up with, and especially in this time when we can measure things so easily with social media and our influence, and it can be intoxicating, I'm calling on all of us. Let us love God more than ministry. Let our ministry be the result of our love for God. Let us not use God for our ministry. Please, please, please focus more on your love for God than what you can do for Him or what other people are doing for Him. This is a grave mistake to make. So please let us all focus on that which is most important, which is giving all of ourselves, worshiping with our whole heart the God of this universe, the one who created us, the one who has a plan for your life, who does want to see you do great things, but not for your sake, not for the sake of your platform, but for His and His alone. That is my challenge to you. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Truly, that means so much to me. If you've gotten to this point, you're pretty much the coolest person I know. And if you're one of the people that has subscribed to this channel, that's been liking, commenting, and sharing these videos with your friends, you're the best. Like, I don't even know how to thank you, but thank you so much. If you're new, this is Gospel Simplicity, and we're passionate about the beautiful simplicity and transformative power of the gospel, the good news about Jesus. If that interests you and you haven't already, I'd encourage you to hit subscribe to become a part of what we're doing here on this channel. But in the meantime, be on the lookout for more videos. But most importantly, please, above all, go out and love God, love others, because truly, above all else, that will change the world. Peace. Love you guys so much. I'll see you next time.